Life reels, life reels, life reels, life reels.
Yeah, it's life reels with Julie and Pete. Bold conversations, authentic invitation. Truth, head, culture so proper. Unveiling life's essence, authentic and bold.
Life reels, life reels, life reels, life reels.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we want to have a conversation with Pastor Nimrod Thande. And if you don't know him, allow me to introduce our guest for today. So Nimrod Thande is a pastor. He leads a movement called Wonder Workers Bible Study.
Yeah.
Have you heard about it? Yes. You've heard about it? Doing amazing things both in Nairobi and in Mombasa. So he started a movement, started a ministry. Beyond that, he's a pilot day to day.
Yes, sir.
So he'll tell us which destinations he was at yesterday and this week. And is there a place you want to go that you've never gone, Pastor Thande?
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe you can tell us more about yourself as we start.
Yeah, so thank you first and foremost for the opportunity. Great initiative you have started with Julie. So, like you said, I'm a husband, father, pastor, pilot. Above all that, I'm a son of God. I love God. And I find my identity in Him. And like you said, yeah, there are things that I've started and handed over. I've had the fear of failure of starting as well. But to answer your question, last week I was in Entebbe. I was in a place called Nampula. Nampula is all the way in Mozambique. Mozambique is huge, by the way. And tomorrow I'll be in Kigali. So just that life balance. I enjoy what I do, and I thank God for being here.
Don't you envy this life? Don't you? Do you feel bad? Do you feel like some of us are grounded in Nairobi? Like you're grounded. It's like don't leave, rooted. Eh? And then you hear sermons that Pastor George will preach and say, "Bloom where you're planted." You know. So thank you, Thande. It's good to know the different places you've been at. Tell us from the lens of a pilot. I'm seeing a plane on the screen. There are checks you must do before you take off.
Yeah.
All right. So what are some of the key elements that determine whether a plane or a person will take off successfully?
Wow. There's a host of things, but first and foremost, there's something we call a flight plan. Okay. A flight plan is basically a document that has the details of your flight, who's the captain, where you're flying to, the level that you'll be flying at, all these things. So we need that first and foremost, not even before we take off, before you even start. You can't even be given start clearance without having a flight plan.
Okay.
And to me, the equivalent of that, when I look at life, the equivalent of a flight plan is having some revelation from God about what you're about to start, what has the plan for your life. So that's the equivalent. That's the first and foremost. That's the first thing that we need before we take off, and that's what we receive before we start our engines. And sometimes you can be ready. I've seen this on several occasions. You can be ready as a pilot to go. You're ready to go. You're prepared. But when you're going to request for start from the tower, for example, they tell you, hey, you can't start, you can't even begin because you don't have your flight plan. And sometimes I feel in life we are ready, we have this passion burning, we have the ability, but we've not received from God our actual plan.
Okay.
And that's how I equate it with life. I think the Bible says that I know that plans that I have for you, plans to prosper and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope in the future. So ideally, before you start anything, you have to first conclude, have I heard from God concerning this matter? That's the first thing. Mm-hmm. The second thing is you as an individual. Of course, an aircraft cannot take off without the pilot. There's this funny meme I saw that there was like a lady was in line, the pilot was behind her, so the lady wanted to give the pilot room. Hey, no, you go first. Like, no, it's okay, it can't take off without me. So anyway, the pilot has to be there, and the pilot has to be trained. The pilot has to be prepared. The pilot has to have an understanding of what to do during takeoff. So that's us. Are we trained? Are we equipped? Do we have the necessary information for takeoff? Have you prepared yourself? Have you come for strong start to be able to build your capacity?
Yeah.
So first and foremost, the flight plan. Secondly, the pilot. And it starts, for example, I'm going to Kigali tomorrow, like I said.
Yeah.
I'm already thinking about the flight tomorrow.
Okay.
Like how many hours will I sleep? When I wake up, what time will I have breakfast? All these things are things that I consider before I start. So the pilot has to be trained, has to be equipped, and he has to have we have to do briefings. You talked about checklists.
Yes.
We have to do a briefing before we even take off.
Yeah.
Me and the captain have to be in oneness to understand. Okay, I can't say I'll turn left during takeoff when the captain says it'll turn right. There'll be confusion and the takeoff won't be successful. So having a team that is trained, having a team that is prepared. I like to use this example of can two walk together unless they are agreed? Maybe it's in marriage. Have you talked about your values? Have you talked about your the places you go to church?
Yeah.
I mean, you as a pastor know it's important if both the husband and the wife go to the same church.
Yeah.
Such things. That's how I look at the briefing phase before we take off in aviation. Thirdly, the equipment, the aircraft that we are flying. Is it prepared for takeoff? Is it serviced well? I know most of us hate delays.
Yes. How many of you had delays? All right. How many of you had delays from? Let me not mention. Let me not mention.
Don't go there.
I won't.
So anyway, sometimes the delays are necessary because the aircraft is not prepared, and it's not
So
ready.
it's better a delay.
It's better a delay
than a botched flight.
Exactly. It's better a delay than a takeoff where you'd have to come back, or a takeoff that will lead to a more serious issue. So we'd rather delay the flight, fix what needs to be fixed, let the aircraft be ready so that the takeoff can be successful. And when I was meditating on this, the element of equipment, I was thinking, could equipment be like our families, like people that are necessary and people that are in our circles? Because we can be ready as individuals. Like a pilot, I can be ready. I've come to work, I've prepared, I've gone through the flight plan, but the aircraft is not ready. So could it be that sometimes maybe you've gotten a contract to go abroad? You're ready, you're psyched up, but your family, is it ready? Are your children ready? Have you briefed them? Have you talked to them? Do they know about the country that you're going to?
Yeah.
Is your wife ready to sacrifice her dreams, hi babe, for you to go and do what you need to do?
Yeah.
Because if they're not ready, you can go there, you're living your dream, but your wife is crying, and don't blame her, no, blame yourself because you didn't prepare her. You see, so I look at that, the equipment has to be ready, your children have to be ready, everything around your life has to be ready for you to start, because we don't live for ourselves, there are people that are looking unto us. Then lastly, for the elements that bring successful takeoff, is the element of environment.
Yeah.
The weather. Weather's a big deal for us. We don't take off if the weather is not suitable. I mean, there can be a storm overhead. I won't take off even if everything is ready. Even if the passengers are like, man, I have a meeting in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
I need to go. We won't take off. Because we know there's no way I can take off into weather just for the sake of keeping time, of the sake of taking off.
Yeah.
The weather has to move for me to be able to take off successfully. And I was looking at that as the element of time. I know we are people of faith, and it's good to have faith even as you take off. But faith is not foolishness. There's a level of intellect that God has given you to be able to look at the times. In fact, the sons of Issachar were commended for knowing the times and seasons. Ecclesiastes says there's a time and season for everything. So sometimes everything can be ready. The equipment is ready. You have your flight plan. The pilots are ready. You are ready as an individual. But the weather
It's not favorable.
is not favorable. And there's nothing, it doesn't take away from you just to wait a few minutes, 30 minutes. Normally it takes around 30 minutes for a storm to pass.
Yeah.
Just let it pass, then take off then. Yeah, so those are some of the factors that influence our successful takeoff. Weather also influences our performance, the performance of the aircraft at that time. So when I look at life, I have to see, is the time favorable? Have I done market research, for example, if it's a business, to launch my product? If it's social media, I'm sure Ben and Wanjiri will tell us there's a specific time I hear is good to post.
Algorithm.
There's an algorithm that you that you have to know to post something. So it's similar to aviation and similar to starting and taking off. There's a level of awareness and preparedness that all comes to the whole picture so that we can have a successful takeoff.
Fantastic. Let's put our hands together for... because these are critical elements when it comes to a proper start or starting strong. So the idea that you want to start something is not enough.
It's not enough.
So you can be the best person in the room with a very good intention and a very good motive. I want to start, but you need the wherewithal to extend to check if other areas are also helping with your takeoff and with your start. And you've alluded to a couple of them which are so important. For example, you don't fly alone. There's a team.
There's a team.
Because you don't do everything alone. So there are people talking about our community. So who's on your corner as you're starting? We've had a lot of businesses, individuals, initiatives that end up dying because people have this saying in leadership, leadership is lonely. Have you heard that statement before? They're like, my God, I'm the only one in this industry. Maybe not. Maybe it's that you've not found your tribe. You've not found your people. You've not found your crew. And you have your crew that you fly with. You have the guy who fuels. You have the guy who... So as much as you focus on what you can focus on, one of the elements of starting strong, I believe, is making sure that you can tap into the people who can help you start well.
Yes.
All right? And maybe we can explore that a bit more on what are some of the issues that come when you start off with the wrong people.
Maybe very, very aptly said. But Speed, no one is self-made. I know people like to say self-made billionaire, self-made entrepreneur. No one is really self-made. There's always someone that has come to your corner to assist you and to help you. Okay, let's even say the most basic of things. You had to be born, so your mother played a part in your making. The most basic. And throughout your journey, you might think that I can do this alone, but actually you can't. And the importance of having a well-equipped team cannot be overemphasized. In aviation, a very, very regulated industry, everyone has to go through training. We were talking about it as we were preparing. Everyone has to have gone through a certain level of training that is specific to their place and specific to their role. Be it the cockpit, be it the flight attendants, be it the engineers. And you have to be able to trust these guys to do their part, and you do your part to have a successful journey. So training is important, making sure that everyone is on the same page. This will require you briefing each other. This will require communication, very important in aviation.
So you can't start saying, I'm not the type that does not communicate.
No.
So if you want to start something, you can't start saying, me, I'm not good.
No.
I'm the one who keeps things to myself.
No way.
You have to have the ability to share your vision, your dream. You have to share and cross-check. Are you understanding what I'm understanding? Are we having our eyes on the same flight plan?
Yes.
So that you don't say, it's all in my head. Find a way of decoding what's in my head. All right? And I think those are some of the things that limit proper takeoff.
Yes.
You know, because not everything can be in your head. You need to share it. All right. You need to talk to people. You need to have the right tribe around you.
Yes.
And there's an element which I love when it comes to a strong start, which is our energy.
Yeah.
All right. There's no plane that you take off with, or is it from? With. Is it with? Is that the right English?
Take off it, yeah.
With that you tell yourself by faith, I don't need fuel. All right? That by faith, I'm going to get to my destination. So you must have the right amount of fuel.
Yes.
And in this case, the fuel here needed is what's your energy fuel as you start. All right?
Yeah.
Because some of us sometimes end up starting projects when our energies are dipping. All right? You have such a brilliant idea. You have something good going on, but you're taking off when you're tired.
Wow.
All right? You're taking off when your energy is depleted. All right? The aircraft has no fuel.
Yes.
So tell us about the element of making sure that the fuel matches the destination,
Yes.
the energy needed to power up the aircraft. You know, what does that look like now for people who are starting up? You know, I know it also speaks into, by the way, one of the things you must make sure you have, I believe, in takeoff is the right energy around you.
Exactly.
All right? I think as you take off, it's the wrong time to have vision killers. All right? The thing has not even lifted off.
Yeah.
So you can't have, what do you call them? Antagonists when you're starting. So like you said, the environment, the weather has to be good.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you calculate the fuel.
You calculate the fuel, and it's funny that you said energy, because on takeoff, that's the phase of flight that we use the most amount of energy. That's the phase because we are heaviest at that time, we need to transition from a ground equipment to a flight equipment.
Okay.
So that's the point that we use the most energy in the whole phase of flight, which I found very interesting, even as you mentioned that. And of course, we calculate the fuel, not only the fuel to start, but also the fuel to get to our destination. Everything is considered at the beginning. And I like what the Bible says, I think it's in Luke 14, that you have to count the cost.
Yeah.
So we do that. We count the cost of the amount of fuel that we need from start to taxiing to the runway, to take off, to climb, to cruise, to destination. Even we have reserves just in case we can't land in the destination. And to speak to what you're talking about, the detractors and people that maybe might throw a wet blanket on you when you're starting.
Yeah.
There's a phase in flight from ground up to 10,000 feet that we call the sterile cockpit.
Sterile cockpit.
Sterile cockpit. Sterile cockpit is where we only discuss matters that are pertinent to the flight. You don't talk about any other thing. You don't talk about the breakfast that you had. You don't talk about, I love football, I'm an Arsenal fan.
Arsenal fans, that was a good place to cheer on, yeah?
So, even if the captain tells me, hey, but the Arsenal conversation would interest me, but it's not the time. The time right now is to talk about matters pertaining this takeoff, matters pertaining this flight, and that's all we're going to talk about. So, to your point, when you're taking off, it's not the time to get the power of words, basically, is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's not the time to have people that can bring doubt, bring you low self-esteem. You know, it's not the time to say, oh, can you really fly this aircraft? I don't want to think about that. Give me some confidence that I can do this, yeah? Let's talk about things that are pertinent to the flight and pertinent to the aircraft. So when you're starting, the right amount of energy, like you aptly said, and two, the power of words. I can't overemphasize that.
Yeah.
I don't want people to come and speak negatively about, oh, you're too young.
That's not the time.
No, that's not the time. Oh, no one your age has ever done this. Or maybe, oh, do you think you're starting too late?
That's not the time. So sterile cockpit.
Sterile cockpit.
There's no conversation.
No conversation that is not pertinent to what we're doing, and that is taking off. Yeah.
So did you know all these things happen behind the scenes? You know, as guys just get into the aircraft, you know, you sit down, you're like, leo amenipatia tu croissant imekauka, you know? Do you, and sometimes that's what will happen because the visionaries, I believe the people in this room are visionaries and fire starters. Do you have fire starters here? Do you have them here?
Yeah.
All right. By the way, I'm a passee, so I'll need interaction. All right. we need to make it easier for Pastor George when he comes. All right. Sometimes the people that are benefiting from your venture don't even understand the things that make you, you know, what you prepare.
Yeah.
Yeah. The passengers that you're carrying, the children that you have, some of you don't have a clue of the times you need a sterile cockpit with your wife. All right? And they're like, keep quiet. Sometimes with my wife, you know, when we're having a deep conversation and our sons are trying to interject, we're like, we're having an adult conversation. No child is allowed in this conversation for now, you know? And sometimes the people that we carry, the people that work for us, some of you are running businesses or want to run businesses and start, might not understand this part. But for every visionary, you must understand this part. You must understand how to preserve your energy, must understand how to preserve your environment, design your environment for success, must understand that there are places, that's so deep, man, that there are places where there are conversations that can't happen.
Yeah.
And you said from ground to 10,000 feet.
10,000 feet.
Because you're focusing on proper liftoff.
Yeah. You're closest to the ground, you're heaviest, the time of reaction is least at that time. So you can't afford any distraction during takeoff. None at all. Because any distraction is too great, no matter how small, it's too great when you're starting. It's too great.
And that's not the time to also cross-check your idea with 27 people.
Yeah.
Yeah? So Nani, what do you think about my idea? And then you go to especially those of us who love the applause of men. All right? Those of us who love, manze, I need my fans on my side. And you're cross-checking what you have with 27 other people, and maybe 25 of them think you're crazy. All right? 25 of them think you're smoking something bad. All right? So that's not the time.
It's not the time. It's like, and I know, not throwing any jabs, but I know there are passengers that think, that flight could have been done this way or that way. And they have an opinion about how you'd do what you've discussed between your team, what you've meditated on for years, what you've discussed with God. And at the last minute, that's when they feel like, no. That's not how you should do it. That's not how you should do it. But they don't know the work that has gone into preparing. Now, of course, cancel is good, but there's a place we can over cancel, if there's a way of, if there's such a thing, that it actually becomes detrimental to your mindset. You begin second guessing, especially those people that are overthinkers.
I'm like, yeah, I'm here.
Ama we left that thing off.
Yeah.
Ama we did this. Ama we do that. Ama we should take a right turn instead of a left. No. There's time for that. But when you're on the runway and taking off, you can't. You can't do that. That's the time to just employ what you've already decided. Then along the way, if there's need for change, you can welcome it then. But that sterile cockpit phase, it's you, the people that you've discussed with, your team, and God. Do it that way. Then any other thing that is needed, you'll amend as you go.
You'll course correct.
You'll course correct later.
As you're airborne.
Yeah.
Okay, that's so good. Yeah. That's so good. That's so good. As we land this plane, Pastor Thande,
Yeah.
how do you sustain momentum once you've taken off? All right?
Yeah.
You've said you're burning a lot of fuel as you're taking off. The weight, everything is just heavy.
Yeah.
All right? They say in leadership that you know you're a leader when you can continue in something long after the excitement of it has died. All right? It's always exciting when when it's fresh and new. And you're like, man, the next best idea, unicorn. This is going to be a unicorn. I'm going to become a billionaire, guys, you know, and you love it. Or I'm going to start something and my children, you know, are coming and you love it. But you come to realize sometimes in starting ventures like this or starting anything, the true test is long after the excitement is gone.
Exactly.
And you go back to the mundane, the routine, all right? Anyone who's gone back to routine, you did the launch, it was good, you did the confetti, everyone celebrated, everyone clapped for you, and then now you have to go and put things to work.
Yeah.
So how do you sustain? You do checklists. Don't you get tired
We get tired.
of checklists? Can't you summarize the checklists?
No, you can't. And just to speak on what you said, never let the enthusiasm of starting something distract you from the necessity of preparedness and diligence. Because sometimes we have that enthusiasm that you're talking about. It can distract you, and you feel like, man, this is just the greatest thing I've just said. And it distracts you from the necessity of diligence and preparedness, which the checklist, which we are talking about. So we can be so focused, it's time to take off, that I don't do the checklist, that I don't prepare myself. One of the things that is is a big threat to take off is non-adherence to checklists. Even as I go to answering your question on momentum, non-adherence to checklists. I've come to realize that when you start something, the stretching that is required, the diligence that is required is so taxing on you that the threat or that the temptation to cut corners is so prevalent. It's so prevalent. You want to cut corners when you're starting. For us, that would mean, let me just go through the checklist quickly, not pay any attention, or even let me not even do the checklist. I've been doing this for such a long time, let me not do the checklist.
For those of us who are in church, you want the impartation.
Yeah.
You want, lay hands. I want it tomorrow.
And then we take a photo and we post there, so-and-so lay hands on me.
Laid hands on me. You want to now start your ministry from there. And you miss the adherence to the checklist, the discipleship, the prayer, the fasting, the requirements.
The integrity of structures and systems of, maybe it's a business. We know how frustrating it can be to get your licenses and all these things. And you say, let me just cut a corner, I'll do this. Then at the end of the day, it ends up biting you later as a company because the foundation is wrong. So now that there is a checklist, we can't overemphasize going through the checklist and doing what is necessary from the beginning in all integrity and diligence so that you can have a strong start. To answer you, Pastor Peter, about momentum, there's a phase in flight after you've taken off that is called the climb phase. The climb phase is where when you see an aircraft taking off, you see the undercarriage or the landing gear. I'm trying not to be too technical.
So that's the time us guys are like, you're trying to look on the window and you're like this. You're like, the horizon is like this.
Yeah, so it's basically when the wheels go up into the, when the wheels go up into the belly of the aircraft.
Yeah.
And the wings also change their configuration. What the aircraft is doing is it's trying to get rid of drag so that it can climb and reach its efficient level. That's how we maintain momentum. You have to get rid of drag. And when I was thinking about this, it was, this scripture popped up, I think it's in Hebrews 12, it says, lay aside every weight and the sin that so easily entangles.
It's going to be a revival up in here in a few minutes.
And run the race set before you with endurance. So what is drag? Drag can be self-doubt. Drag can be, maybe you started something in the past, it didn't work out, and that thing is still plaguing you when you're starting something else. It can be regret. I wish I did this better. I wish I didn't do this when I was starting off.
Yeah.
It can be just a negative mindset about yourself. Am I good enough? Did I do it at the right time? So you have to lay aside those weights. You have to let go of drag so that you can climb out with even more momentum that you took off with and reach your highest level, your most efficient level, and finally get to your destination. So we can't underplay or overemphasize letting go
Of unnecessary weight.
of unnecessary.
And sometimes that unnecessary weight could be you started your business with your best friend.
Yeah. Oh, don't go there.
All right? You started it with your best friend because you shared the same passion.
Yeah.
All right? But the stronger, the heavier load is on you.
Yeah.
And you want to steer the business forward, but your business partner is a happy-go-lucky guy or lady. All right? And is derailing the project, is derailing the profits or derailing the margins because they're not showing up the way they're supposed to show up, and they become a weight. So they were your best friend before, still are, but in the context of a business, they are not.
Their liability.
They are a liability.
Yeah.
Yeah?
And you have to have the wisdom on how to navigate that. I think even the element of relationships, as you're starting something, which relationship is, I think compartmentalizing relationships, it's also very important.
Yeah.
Because it's good to relate with someone based on certain things like whether it's money, whether it's business, whether it's all these things. There are people that we connect with because of those things. But I find the highest and deepest relationship and connection is one that is based on similar values. Similar values. That will outlast any profit. It will outlast any single thing. If you have the similar values in terms of, man, we're going to show up whether it is convenient or not. We're going to be strong whether it's convenient or not. Even if we are just left, the two of us, we'll stick this out. Once you have that sort of relationship, and I think in church circles we call it covenant relationship, that needs to be very defined in terms of starting a business. Marriage, it goes without saying. Going into and venturing into other things, that covenant relationship has to be there, and it has to be well defined so that along the way they don't become a liability like you're saying. But they are constantly refreshing you, and you're refreshing them. Basically, iron sharpening iron.
Absolutely.
That is very important.
Good. As we land this plane, and before you give us your parting shot, Nimrod, you are in two worlds. And maybe there are people here who feel, maybe I'm just called to one world, or I want to venture into multiple worlds. You're a successful, accomplished pilot. You're rising in the ranks. And I know that's an amazing world for you. But you've also started a ministry, all right? A couple of years ago, you started Wonder Workers Bible Study. So you're a pastor also and a pilot. And sometimes in life we feel like we need either or. I need to be one, not the other. All right? But you are playing at the highest level possible in two worlds. All right? Maybe you can talk to guys who are here, the ones who feel, I must stop ministry to work. All right? Or I must stop work to do ministry. All right? Or I must stop my business to focus on my education. Or I must stop on my education to focus on my... maybe as you give your parting shot, you can weigh on this and then you can give us your parting shot.
Well, I think it's all about capacity and prioritizing. Because if you don't have the capacity, even if you have the good intention to do multiple things, one will take a hit, whether you like it or not. So you have to have the capacity first as yourself and the team that we talked about, first starting with your wife, for those who are married, and your team. The capacity has to be there for you to be able to run those two things. So you don't have to kill one to start another. The responsibility is on you to increase your capacity so that you can handle both things.
That's good.
Then prioritizing. There are some things I can't delegate. I can't delegate being a husband. I can't delegate being a father. So those things I prioritize. There's this, as we wrap up, there's this thing that I learned about nickel and diming your time. This was the principle. Okay, maybe I can use 20 bob and 10 bob your time in our context. So 20 bob is the big chunks of time you have throughout your day. Then the 10 bobs is the small amounts of time you have during the day. For example, if I'm driving to work, that short 20-minute drive is a 10 bob. So the 20 bob, I prioritize my life. I say, God, it's God, my family, then ministry, for example. And those 20 bobs, I delegate the time. Like, God, I give him this time, maybe 4 to 5 a.m. in the morning, I give God. Then my wife in the morning as I'm preparing, give her that time, my children, my son, children, amen. So in those 10 bob times, you take your priorities and you give that 10 bob to that time. For example, when I'm driving, I'll call my wife. We have a chat. We have a conversation. When I'm driving, I also pray. Maybe I'm just praying as I'm going. When you're in the salon, that's a 10 bob for the ladies.
Don't sleep.
Don't sleep.
Meditate.
Meditate, go through scripture, or call up someone and have a conversation with them, maintain that relationship. So that's what I do to delegate and to prioritize my time. That way I can be able to do ministry, I can be able to fly. When I'm flying and I'm in cruise, I meditate on scripture. I equip myself as a pastor, as a father and as a husband. So nickel and diming, or 20 bob and 10 bob in our context, do that to your time and you'll see that you're able to increase your capacity in that regard. Then lastly, my parting shot. There's a phase in flight that is called, or there's a speed in flight that is called V1. V1 is where, at that point, you cannot abort that takeoff. You can't. No matter the malfunction, no matter what happens, you have to take off and deal with that thing there in the air. And do your checklist there. Then if you want to come back and land, you will come back and land. But you cannot abort that takeoff. And I feel like many of us, as we start, we need to get to that point and determine what is my V1 speed. What is the point that I will not abort this takeoff no matter what happens? I am committed to seeing the end of this matter, no matter what comes my way. I think it's Galatians 6:9 says, it says that you will reap if you faint not.
Yes.
So there's a place of, and that word fainting is actually not stopping altogether, but reducing in intensity. So there's a place in life, you'll say, no matter what comes my way, I'm not taking the foot off the gas pedal.
Yes.
I will continue with this thing until I see what I saw when I started, until I see what I saw when I was praying, until I see what I saw when we are entering this covenant of marriage, until I see what I saw as I was starting this business. Because sometimes we face maybe some turbulence, if I can give an analogy, we face some contradictions, and we want to shrink back and say, no, by this I'm done. And it's just the beginning.
Yeah.
So contradiction or turbulence doesn't mean that it's time for you to stop. It actually means you're in flight.
Yeah.
It means it's time for you to continue. It means it's time for you to go on and see the fullness of what you started. So I ask all of us today, determine what your V1 speed is and stick it out. Stick it out no matter what comes your way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Pastor Nimrod, Thande, and definitely Susan, the wife, is at the back cheering the husband on. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Susan, for joining us. We'll keep these conversations going on.
Yeah.
All right? I have a very weird question for your career. What's the worst thing you've ever experienced as you're on a flight? And you don't want to, and please don't scare us, but just tell us what.
I'm trying to land it in a way that won't scare those ones that don't like flying. But of course, it has to do with weather. Weather can be scary. Weather can be really, really scary, especially when it's sitting right on top of the place you need to land. there's a time when there was a storm over Nairobi. And you know, Nairobi has some high places, there's Ngong Hills, there's all these things. So there's weather all over, you're trying to descend, there's terrain all over the place. And man, that aircraft, man, was pushed so low, it was scary. It was really, really scary. But of course, we are trained, just let me put this out there, we are trained to handle this. Please, I know some of you had flights maybe next week or something,
Tomorrow.
please, or even tomorrow. Don't cancel. Don't cancel. We are trained to handle that, which of course goes back to the point of preparedness. And at that point, we executed what's called a go-around.
Yeah.
Because of the wind shear, that's wind shear basically, that we experienced, where the wind was so strong that it pushed us down. No, we trained for it, went around, tried again, and landed successfully. So I hope I've not scared anyone.
I hope so. I hope you'll still take your flights with confidence. You will catch flights, not feelings, like I had someone say. So thank you very much, Nimrod Thande. We appreciate you. We'll transition to the next speaker. So let's put our hands together for Pastor Nimrod.
Thank you so much for
Life real, life real, life real, life real.
Yeah, it's life reels with Julie and Pete. Bold conversations, authentic invitation. Truth, headquarter, culture so proper. Unveiling life's essence, authentic and bold.